On the show today, Ethiopia to split state telecoms provider into two before privatization. Congo court upholds suspension of Vodacom's 2G license. Plus, NASPA's biggest investor moles cutting $16.5 billion stake. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Business Incorporated. I'm Chimezie Obi. We'll begin the show with the markets and starting off here in Africa, where most of the numbers were in the red at intraday except the South African index, which was 0.43% positive. The Nigerian oil share index had lost 0.15% as at midday, while Egypt was down 0.25%. Kenya ended Monday's session with a 1.1% haircut. In the Middle East, all the major indices we track were trading higher at intraday in what appears to be a snapback after last week's oil tanker attacks in Oman. The Abu Dhabi index was up 0.23%, while the Dubai financial market rose 0.56%. In Qatar, the index had gained 0.29% as at intraday, and the Saudi index was also 0.2% higher. In Europe, stocks rebounded in morning trade following a speech from European Central Bank President Mario Draghi, which suggested that the ECB will provide more stimulus, either through new rate cuts or asset purchases if inflation does not pick up. Well, let's bring in Daniel Cook now to tell us more. Hello, Daniel. Good afternoon. Quite an age. Good to see you.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Timmy, as well. Hello from Frankfurt. I hope you're doing fine over there.
We're doing great.
Lagos.
We're doing great, Daniel. Well, it's a week of central bank decisions from UK to Japan to US. How's the market digesting ECB Mario Draghi's speech of yesterday?
Well, I can tell you that investors here at the market are pretty excited. I guess you can see it in the back. The blue chip index DAX started really in the red this morning. This was happening because of mostly uncertainty what is going to happen with the Federal Reserve in the United States. But then we got news from Mario Draghi. He has been speaking there in Portugal and was giving investors the outlook and also the hope that the monetary policy here in Europe most likely is not really going to change, that more cheap money could be coming from the European Central Bank. And as a result, we saw this big jump here happening at the blue chip index DAX. Let's take a look at the numbers right now. The blue chip index DAX right now in the green with more than 220 points in the green. It was really a surprise that this was happening today. Investors did not expect this reaction. Of course, now we have to see what is also going to happen with the ongoing trade conflict there between the United States and China. We're expecting more news about the trade conflict at the G20 summit, which is going to take place in a few weeks in Osaka in Japan. That's going to be a very interesting topic. Then, of course, we also have to look how the inflation rate here in Europe will develop. Of course, all of this is linked to see how the monetary policy at the end then in the European region is really going to change. But for the moment, I can tell you that investors are quite satisfied, and that's why we are seeing this big jump here right now at the market.
All right, talking about an interest rate direction. In the U.S., the central bank has been facing new demands from President Trump to cut interest rates. It's expected to leave borrowing costs unchanged this time, but investors will be watching to see if the Fed Chief Jerome Powell signals that a rate cut will be likely later this year. What decisions are investors expecting?
Yeah, very interesting what is going to happen. As I told you, and that's why the blue chip index DAX started in the red this morning. This uncertainty, what is going to happen, is keeping investors, of course, busy. What the Federal Reserve in the U.S. will be doing at the end. Are there going to be more interest rate hikes this year? Will the interest rates remain unchanged, or will they even drop? I mean, we have to remember U.S. President Donald Trump, he is not a fan of very high interest rates. He has been saying already throughout this campaign that he thinks that the monetary policy of the Federal Reserve in the U.S. is not correct. He has been criticizing Jerome Powell. He is the head there of the Fed, and he was even appointed by the U.S. president, and something like that is very unusual, that a U.S. president is interfering as much as he is doing at the moment. For the moment, we do expect that interest rates most likely will remain unchanged. But when we take a look, for example, at the unemployment numbers in the United States, also at the inflation rate there, and at the U.S. economy, all of that is doing pretty good at the moment. So investors do expect that within this year, at the end of the year, we could see possible new interest rate hikes, but most likely not happening in the next days.
Now, aside from the interest rate environment, what company news out there on the street is rocking the market this Tuesday?
Yeah, there are some interesting stories on the market. On the one hand, Airbus was able to sell a new mega deal with a carrier from the Philippines. They will be selling more of their A320neo and also A321neo. Those are the airplanes that are manufactured by Boeing who don't need lots of fuels. That's a big topic here at the market. As a result, we also saw shares of Airbus going up. On the other hand, we are still talking about Deutsche Bank, Germany's biggest lender. I know this was also a point of your discussion yesterday with Konrad. Now there have been rumors that Deutsche Bank might cut down their share trading in the United States, their investment banking sector, a division here in Europe that has been also very much under pressure. So there could be this situation happening that in the United States, this could be maybe even closed. So that's another topic. On the other hand, of course, as I told you, the Federal Reserve, a big topic here for investors. So we'll be very excited to see what Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, will be announcing at the end.
Oh, FOMC meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, so let's keep an eye on that. Thank you, Dana. In the UK, the 6 remaining Conservative Party hopefuls to replace British Prime Minister Theresa May will face a second round of voting by secret ballot today, with Brexiteer Boris Johnson the clear front-runner despite refusing to participate in Sunday's live television debate. While investors seem to have shifted focus to central bank's rates decision meeting this week. Let's find out from Juliana how the markets in London are doing this Tuesday. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon. Well, did the market in London listen to Mario Draghi yesterday? Are they reacting to his speech?
Good afternoon, Chimmy. Well, yes, indeed, they are. I will be kind of signalling and copying a lot of what my colleague Daniel in Frankfurt said, but signalling one of the biggest policy reversals of his 8-year tenure. The ECB President Mario Draghi issued fresh ECB warnings that witnessed the euro tumble against the pound. The market may have been happy, but the euro certainly wasn't. Draghi has signaled that the ECB is ready to revitalise the eurozone economy with more rates cuts and bond purchases into what some consider already virtually invisible interest rates. Now, US President Donald Trump not happy about this at all. Immediately after Draghi finished speaking today, Trump took to Twitter saying the resulting drop in the euro puts the US at a disadvantage. In a statement released last week, the European Commission said they wanted to strengthen the euro to rival major tender, including the US dollar, as a dominant world currency. But after today's statement, that could be a long way away. Let's quickly take a look at the numbers. At intraday, the all-share is up by 0.61%. The FTSE 100 is up 56 points at 0.79%, and the 250 is up by 0.15%. In currencies, sterling is underperforming against the dollar and the yen, down 0.02% on the dollar. A pound will get you $1.25 today, and up, of course, against the euro by 0.18%. A pound will get you €1.11, and up on the Japanese yen by 0.24%.
Talking about interest rate there, the US Fed will begin its meeting tomorrow. What do investors in London want to hear from Jerome Powell and his team?
Well, Chimmy, the US rate decision is due after the London markets close tomorrow, so it's another wait-and-see day for the FTSE. But whatever decisions are made will have a major impact on all global markets. The US Central Bank is, of course, the most important central bank in the world, in charge of the most important currency of today, which is the US dollar. Now, analysts are predicting that interest rates will remain unchanged this month. However, anything's possible, and the market does seem expectant around the possibility of a rates cut. Now, when it comes to available data from the US, which is able to give an outlook, economy reports are mixed. Retail sales in May were pretty good. Industrial production not so good. Consumer confidence is up and down, and inflation remains weak. Now, US Central Bank haven't cut interest rates in over a decade. And with the market placing a 4 in 5 chance that they deliver one in the next 2 meetings, there's plenty of scope for more disappointment, which may lead to further gains in the US dollar. Not good news for the UK.
Another interesting news there. London-listed Pan-African insurance group Old Mutual has suspended its CEO, Peter Moyo, over conflict of interest. What is happening to that stock at the moment?
Shares in the company dipped on afternoon trade on Friday when the news first broke. But as of this morning, Old Mutual's London-listed shares were climbing 3.07%. Now, one of Africa's oldest financial insurers has suspended, as you said, one of the continent's best-known CEOs, Peter Moyo, for what it's been called as a material breakdown of trust, which occurred due to the management of conflicts of interest in business relations with related parties. Now, the board has appointed Old Mutual Chief Operating Officer Ian Williamson as the acting CEO. So good news for the company today, not so good last week.
Well, thank you, Juliana. FOMC meets tomorrow. Bank of England will be meeting on Thursday. So let's keep an eye on those meetings. Thank you. And markets in Asia were mostly higher today as investors await the start of a closely watched meeting by the U.S. Federal Reserve set to kick off later stateside. Shares in mainland China rose on the day, with the Shanghai Composite up slightly at 2,890.16, and the Shenzhen Composite was higher by 0.163%. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index added more than 1%. Over in South Korea, the Kospi gained 0.38%. Meanwhile, the ASX 200 in Australia added 0.6%. Japanese stocks bucked the overall trend. The Nikkei 225 slipped 0.72% as shares of index heavyweights, fast retailing SoftBank Group and Funec fell. The Topix index also declined 0.72%. And in the U.S., stock index futures were slightly higher this morning as market participants braced for the first day of the Federal Reserve's interest rates meeting. At around 6 a.m. Eastern Time, Dow futures traded 56 points higher, indicating a positive open of more than 65 points. Futures on the S&P and NASDAQ were also seen higher. Market focus is largely attuned to the U.S. Central Bank, with policymakers set to begin a 2-day meeting. On the data front, housing starts and building permits for May are scheduled for 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. In corporate news, Parsons will report its latest results before the opening bell. And the global commodities market, looking at the oil prices there, it eased for a second day on signs that global economic growth is being hit by the U.S.-China trade war, although losses were limited by tensions in the Middle East after last week's tanker attacks. Brent crude futures were trading low at $60.50 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were down at $51.66. On the metals market, gold prices rose in early trade today as the dollar retreated from multi-week highs ahead of the U.S. Federal Reserve's 2-day monetary policy meeting. Spot gold gained 0.5% to $1,345.81 per ounce, while U.S. gold futures also climbed 0.5% to $1,346.80 an ounce. And Switzerland's Metallo, one of the world's biggest gold refineries, says it will work only with gold from large industrial mines in order to reduce the risk of illegality in its supply chain. Informal methods of gold production, known as artisanal or small-scale mining, have grown rapidly in recent years as demand for gold has boomed, pushing prices higher. Artisanal mining provides a livelihood to millions of people, often in poorer countries in South America, Africa, and Asia, but it often leaks chemicals into rocks, soils, and rivers. Working conditions can be appalling, and the gold such mining yields is often smuggled or used to launder money. And And when we come back, we'll look at the domestic commodities market scene. Just stay with us.